LaunchLeft. I'm Rich Tupica, a music writer and NTS radio show host and LaunchLeft collaborator. I'm guest hosting today with a special guest, Jenny Lee of Warpaint. Great conversation about being a musician and a visual artist. She launches her friend and fellow musician, Sierra Swan. It was a great conversation. So stick around. Welcome, Jenny. How are you doing today? And thanks for joining LaunchLeft. We appreciate your time.
Hi, I am doing great. I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's very pretty, but very hot.
Right.
Very hot.
So what are you doing in Utah? I know you have a lot of Los Angeles roots. So what took you to Utah?
My boyfriend um, is from here. And so about 10 years ago, I started coming back here with him. And we live here now. So I moved from LA to Salt Lake about maybe right before pandemic. We moved here. He moved back and then it was my first time moving here. And that was right before the pandemic. We're here for a couple of years, went back to LA, decided to come back. LA is not the I don't know. Something has shifted for me with LA. Love
Right.
it, but I don't want to live there anymore.
Sure. And so obviously with Warpaint, you a
Mhm.
lot of songwriting going on there. Recently you've been doing well, you've been painting for a long time, but you've been making that much more public recently. So how is it moving from LA to a place like Utah? Has that changed your creative process at all?
That's a really good question. I think here I'm just allowed more space, time, solace. Like, I don't have a large community base here, which can be a little, that can be a little sad at times, but it's not that deep. Um, so there's less distractions in Utah. But I can't really I've thought about that. Do I paint differently in LA or do I paint wherever I am, do I paint differently? And I'm so, like, emotion based when I'm creating art. I'm very much like I go by how I'm feeling. That's just like that's kind of like all I can do, really, is
Right.
whatever mood I'm in, that's what's gonna come out. So, um, yeah, I don't really think, like, stylistically my work changes from, place to place. I guess if that answers your question?
Are you able to as far as, like, a art studio goes, do you work a lot at home, or do you have to when you're involving paints, I know that can get messy. Do you have to have an outside studio, or are you able to work at home?
I do both.
Okay.
So, the outside studio is more for, like, larger pieces, which I recently started scaling quite bigger than I have in the past, and it also just helps for, like, storing canvases and paint and whatnot, but I also like to paint at home. Because like I just said, if I'm in the mood, sometimes if I have to, like, get up and go drive there, or if there's an extra step involved, that might deter me from following through with the assignment.
Absolutely. And with songwriting, obviously, you've been doing that for a long time. Now that you've been more, you know, talking about your paintings, you have a website, which is it jennylibrary.com?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so with all that, do you find yourself, I think about that David Lynch documentary where you're watching a documentary about, this famous filmmaker, and he seems just so 100% in on his painting. Are you
Mm.
finding yourself in that kind of mode right now?
Um, yes, it's hard for me. I have, like, compartmentalized, so it's hard for me to switch gears, I'm realizing, and I don't know if this is something that is, developing more as time goes on. I've had ADHD since I was a little kid, and it can be pretty debilitating, but I also have, like, one of my, like, special special little magic tricks is I can hyper focus if I'm interested in something, like, I will really zone in, but if I'm doing that, it's very hard for me to switch gears. So, if I have at the moment, I have both, I have some deadlines. I have some painting deadlines, and I also have some music deadlines, and they're they're kind of happening at the same time, and I'm finding it very it's definitely challenging. It's challenging to switch the gears.
Sure.
I also tend to, go off topic at times.
Oh, it's all right. I'm right in that mode as well. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, yes. Well, as far as war paint goes, I see there hasn't been any official music release, but you do have an upcoming show overseas. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We have been invited to, play at the Meltdown Fest. So it's curated that festival has been happening for years, and it's curated by, like, a band or an artist each year picks all of the acts. And this year, Harry Styles has curated the festival, and so we had no plans to tour, no plan we the last show we played was, I believe, in November 2024 in Mexico City, and so that's been a minute. It's almost 2 years. I mean, we're nearing 2 years since we've played a show, and the plan was to take a break. We all felt that it was very necessary to take a breather and step away for a second and, just ground our bearings. Also, the music industry has changed vastly. You have to re we've been grinding for since 2004, and, you know, you can't just grind, 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 grind. And eventually it's gonna take its toll. And so we just needed to just take a little breather, and this is the first thing we're doing. Um, we got invited, and I think everyone was like, "You know what? That sounds like a good time. Let's do it." And it was a collective yes, which, usually means that we're all on the same page. And as far as what we're going to do after, there's some things in the works that I'm probably can't totally talk about right now, but we're not dead.
Right. Well, in after you've been together since 2004, which I would find that surprising. Time flies, right?
I know.
A good thing about that is you hit that point where you can take a break. I was recently interviewing one of the guys from They Might Be Giants, and he said previously they were always so worried about taking any time off because you're always in fear of people forgetting about you or losing that momentum. And then finally during COVID, they realized, well, hey, we can take some time off and people will still be there.
Yeah. And that's another thing too, since the pandemic, a lot of things have shifted, to online presence. And I think that's actually when I shifted and started doing more, just started selling more of my artwork and realized, oh, this is actually something that I can do on my own time by myself, not on anyone else's schedules. And to answer your question that you had asked me like a few ago that I don't think I answered, I was so happy to be able to dive fully into the painting world, especially when we've just taken a break. It's been very therapeutic for me, and um, yeah, it's a different. The process is a little bit different, and I found that I'm less hard on myself, probably because no one else is involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not
So
even producers.
no, yeah. So it's not like, oh, I've kind of have this people pleaser element ingrained in me. That's one of my programs I'm working on. Um, and so when there's other people around, yeah, it's not like I change my personality or anything. It's just I'm just harder on myself. And
And you'll
yeah,
maybe bend to something you typically wouldn't want to, in an artistic
yeah.
situation.
Or spread myself thin, or maybe like, even dare I say not fully like um living in my authenticity, or like when you're creating something by yourself, like, not it's not. I love collaborating with people. I don't want that to be um something that you take away from this. I absolutely love collaborating, but because it was so long of collaborating and compromise, um now that I get to just do things by myself in a totally different field as well, because I've put out a couple of solo records, and that was really fun to step away from the band and sort of be in the director's chair, with my own music, but I was still collaborating with other people, still this with painting, I'm not really doing that.
Well,
It's just
would you let Dave Gahan come on and paint with you if he
oh,
wanted
hell
to
yeah.
collaborate?
That's
How
the
was
thing.
that? Yeah.
It was so great. You know what? We had to do that remotely because that was also during the pandemic, but
Sure.
we went on tour with them. Um, oh, that was a time in my life. It was about 2 months, 32 shows, and it was real chill the way that they like to tour, which was great. It was like every other day was a show.
Wow.
And it never got old watching them. They're one of my favorite bands, like, since I was, shoot, 6th grade, 7th grade. When we found out that we got that tour, I think, like, it might have just been the best moment in my life, and the tour was probably some of the best times of my life as well. So, we made friendly with him while we were on that run, and I reached out to him and was sending him some music, and yeah, I just said, "Hey, would you mind singing? Would you mind singing on this song with me?" And he was like, "No, I'd love to." And he went in the studio and did it, and he just sent me the acapella version of his voice, so we had to do a little bit of massaging because I also had sent him a demo of the song. So it was done in a really, really cool, like, I don't know, post, not post, we didn't mail anything, but it was definitely, he sent me some emails. I had to,
Place
MacGyver.
it together. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I love him on that track, and I think yeah, so great that
Yeah, we just saw him on the
that
last
live.
tour, and I'm 45, and I was watching him on stage, and he could, definitely run laps around me. Dave's hasn't lost a bit of energy.
No, and
Yeah.
he's phenomenal performer, phenomenal dancer, just
Records hold up too.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely. So, other than, with Depeche Mode, along the way since 2004, who else have you been able to collaborate with that was a real, just amazing moment? I know you've worked with Flood. I know you've talked about that, but I'm a fan. So, what was
Yeah,
that like? If you wouldn't mind rehashing that story a little bit.
not at all. I love him. I love Mark. I think I had a wonderful rapport with him. We both, at least what I noticed while we were recording, like he we had, like, we liked similar we just have darker taste in music, darker taste, so that was really nice to kind of have somebody on the team that was an advocate for maybe the darker sense of things. That's the best way I can describe it. Therefore, for instance, there were certain songs or certain things that I would play or that I would like that maybe the girls weren't really seeing, like, the merits in what was happening, and he was, which so it was really nice to have. It's not like it was me and him against them at all, but he understood. I felt very seen by him and very comfortable. Um, he was really encouraging. He wasn't like, when that was, yeah, that was our first bigger, like, big producer that we'd ever worked with, and I was a bit intimidated going into it. So I didn't know what to expect, and, like, also this process that we have has been so precious and so intimate and so ours that I was a little nervous that someone would come in and kind of, like, trample all over it, and also we're 4 women, and working with a man, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't always go. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't and then we have a hard enough time just trying to get on the same page with things. We're all very um we all have our opinions and we have our strong opinions, and it's a democracy, so there's not one person in charge. Um so yeah, I was a little like, "Oh, I hope this goes okay." And I also was hoping that I wasn't, like I said, I didn't want to be intimidated and I didn't want to be nervous because that affects my performance big time. And it was like the antithesis of that. And he was so funny and just, like, honestly, just the best guy. I couldn't say anything bad about him.
Yeah, just amazing. You know what? Here's another question. If you could work with anyone, dead or alive at any point, who would that be?
Oh my
If you could
good.
bring in either for, to work with you in painting or music, but could you
Mm,
come up with anyone? I know this is I just know you've been able to work and collaborate and tour with a lot of people, but is there
yeah.
someone you wish you could turn back time and work with?
Okay. So 2 things just popped up. And I'm sure this will change in 5 minutes, but I'm just gonna go with these 2 answers. I would absolutely love to work with, Andre 3000. I mean, fuck it, Outkast, if they were still doing things, I would that would be, like, forget about it, and the first painter that came into mind that I think would be really incredible to do something Rothko.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, those are the 2, and I could give now that I said those things, I'm like, "Oh, and there's, like, 700 more, I'm sure," but I'm gonna just leave it at that. I'm gonna sit on that.
Well, Andre might be able to shoot you over some of his flute, music that
Mm,
he's been doing. That would be amazing.
that would be incredible.
Absolutely. Yes. So I guess getting back to the painting, do you find that when you do, like when you approach a painting, is it different in the way that you approach a song as far as the inspiration goes? Do you find you're exploring like similar themes and moods with music as you are in paintings, or is it a completely different universe?
It's definitely I would say the way I approach, it's very much stream of consciousness, and I do that quite a bit in music as well, but I'm with music, there's, like, always there's I usually like to play off of something with music. Sure, I play bass, and I'm okay at guitar, but honestly, like, it doesn't really do it for me the way that bass does. Or I really love the piano, but I'm not totally as great as I would like to be. So, with that being said, with bass, it's obviously more fun to play with drums or play off of something. And when it comes to painting, don't really that's not a variable. That's not a necessary thing at all. It's just there's the canvas, there's your mood, what are you going to do? Um so I think it's a little more wild with the painting, which I think is why I won't say that I like it more, but I definitely like wild, and I like wild imagination. I love being in a place of almost childlike where there's no rules and you literally can just do whatever you want, and the beautiful thing about painting is you can paint over it.
Ab-
So,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
And obviously, you understand the music industry. You've been working in it for years now. Are you attempting to go into the art world? I know that there's a music industry and then there's also an art world that are two very different lanes. Are you just carving your own path? Or are you wanting to also delve into that whole other industry?
I that whole world is a little bit of, and, I don't know too much about it other than what I know and what I see, on the outside, and it's always felt, um it feels there's something cold and non-inviting about that world. That being said, obviously I sell my paintings, so I'm happy to sell my paintings. I like to price the price points I think are very affordable for any. I'm not trying to mark up, 900%. And I don't know if you've seen this at all, but I like to do raffles. So I like to
Yeah.
do raffles for the people that follow me so the people can buy a raffle ticket for $10 and then they get a painting that's worth $2,000. So
Right.
it's kind of, I like to work with the people. Don't I think that's an oxymoron when it comes to the art world. I don't think you know, again, I don't know like enough about it, but
There's a lot of gatekeepers in that industry. I mean, there
yeah.
is in music as well, but it's just
Oh
different
yeah.
kind of gatekeeping, you know?
Just in art in general, just kinda seems like who is driving this machine because it feels very misplaced and it like, art and music alike have, like, lost their way, but I don't really feel like the artists have lost their way, it just feels like it's not I don't know, it's just like the people the higher people, you know, running the show, I feel like I don't know, I don't wanna get into that, I could probably go off on a whole thing, and I wanna keep it positive, but
Right. Oh, yeah.
it definitely feels a little bit like, shoot, just what's going on right now, and it really I've been in this industry since, 2004, working 2009, and it's even since 2009, it's like, what is going on? It really we've released 4 records, 5 if you wanna include the EP, and just the dramatic, drastic change and shift from each record is,
Uh,
like, bonkers. It's so wild to me. I'm like,
sure.
"Oh, what's going on here?"
Yeah, so I'm sure your next music output will be a whole new experience.
Well, I hope so. I mean, to be honest, I'm, like, kind of just disenchanted by all of it because it doesn't, it's not like it's not adding up how much work you have to put in and what you actually get back. It's just not it's not, like, sustainable. And that's not, like, fiscally sustainable, you know what I mean, for a lot of artists when it has been for so long, and that's what I'm talking about, like, gosh, wow, this is so crazy. This shift and change is really, like, it's dramatic, and so many of my musician friends and so many of my artist friends who were, like, really going, 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 they've all, like, had to, career shift, like, massive career shifts, and it's not to say that they don't wanna do that, but, like, at some point, you just can't be, like, the rat race you can't rat race for your whole life, like, you're gonna it's exhausting. It's exhausting, and then you also lose the plot. You're making art, like, you're making beautiful things for people to listen to, for people to look at, and it just feels like if you're super stressed out or, you're struggling just to make ends meet, like, I don't know. It just feels like, "Oh, that's not the greatest place to be making art from," you know?
Right. But I bet
I
it's enjoyable. I mean, you offer prints, for sale,
Yeah,
and I imagine just doing that, you have a painting, you're working with a printer to get high quality prints. That's probably one of the more rewarding things is just being able to work with tangible things rather than just having stuff stream invisibly online, I'm sure.
yes. Yes, and that was something that I found great deep satisfaction from, like, since I've been selling my work because I don't wanna say I hoarded it, but I definitely was like, "Oh, I've been painting and making art for many years," and that was always, like, something that I liked to just keep for myself. I wasn't really ready to, like, "Here we go," and then the pandemic kind of sh that not kind of, it did, it shifted that for me. Everything was just online, so in a
Was
way,
there a certain painting? What was it that actually sparked you where you said, "I'm gonna put this out there for everyone to look at"? What eureka moment did you have?
Well, let's see. I definitely was making art and selling it. Like I was doing it wasn't textile stuff, but I was like making we were making hats and I had like an art show in LA, like I don't know, maybe 2016 where I was really big on not selling the originals and what I used to do is I'd paint a little piece or I would do a doodle or whatever it was that I was doing, and I would take pictures of certain parts of the piece, and then I would blow those up, and I'd print it on, like, glass or print it on we made hats. I know Warpaint did this collab with someone, we made these really cool hats, which I then kept making more hats, purses. I was putting things on, like, clothes, basically, everything but selling the original piece of art.
You were easing into it almost.
Yeah. Yes, exactly, and I also but I was, like, I don't wanna get sell this. I was there was something really like, I didn't want to let go of the original piece, so it was, like, psychological too, and I'm not sure what that's about, but I let that go come pandemic. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we have Sierra Swan that you're going to be launching today. But one last question about art: why acrylic? It seems like you leaned heavily into the acrylic paint.
Hmm.
Why that instead of oil paint? Other than I understand it takes oil paint a long time to dry, and there's other things you have to deal with. But was there something that drew you to acrylic?
Well, I mean, I think acrylic, you have to, like, work with it a little bit. There's, like, a little bit of a fight in there. It's not, like doesn't spread for days. It's not, like, super fluid like watercolor, oil. It's, like it's got this, like, motion going on, and acrylic, you have to, like yeah, you have to work for it a little bit more. And I also feel like, because I'm self-taught, I think yeah, I paint with palette knives, and I have, like even though I have to work for it a little more, I think maybe I have a bit more control over what it is that I'm doing. Um, but that's not I didn't go into, like, painting with that knowledge. I honestly was just I was kind of like, "Oh, I'll pick up these paints." I used to paint with paint markers that
Uh,
were also acrylic based, and I would take those on tour a lot. Those were a lot easier, and that was, like, all I used to do. So I think I just was like, "Well, I'm just gonna get the tubes and graduate to the actual acrylic paint."
and now, how many paintings do you think you've done?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I tried to think about that the other day. Uh,
Your website alone has quite a few. A lot of them are sold out, which is great.
they did. Yes, I am very grateful for that. I don't know. I think it's a lot. It's the numbers up there. The
Is
numbers
this
up.
something you work on every day, or is this just when you
I try to. I try to, and it also depends on, if I have deadlines, but then, the other like element of the business is the social media. And you were saying like the prints, like, I definitely have to spend a hot minute, you know, promoting what it is that I'm doing. And that, like I told you earlier, it's hard for me to switch gears. The promotion aspect of it definitely like takes the wind out of my sails.
absolutely the dark side of the
Like,
business, right? Yes.
yeah.
Well, you do a very tasteful job. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, then I guess, do you wanna talk a little bit about Sierra Swan and why you chose to bring her on this episode, and how just a little bit about your background before we bring her in?
Um, I love this person is, like, maybe one of the most magical people that I've ever met, and I love everything that she does. We met many, many, many years ago. I've been a big fan of hers, since I was, like, 19 years old. A fun fact, she used to give me bass lessons, and she was very patient and very sweet, and she wouldn't, we would, like, make songs together even though I don't really know what I was doing, and I love her approach to art as well because she's got a real, like, can I cuss on here?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
No.
absolutely.
Oh, she just got a real, like, "Fuck it and find out" kinda, attitude, which I also do as well, so I think that we're very compatible in that regard. Um, and we've just been, I think an important part of just making art in general, it's a very vulnerable experience, and I think it's so important, and I don't even know if people realize this or even talk about it. It's so important to have support, and I mean just, like, moral support from people who understand, people who get it, from other artists. Like, it really, really it's kind of like a deal breaker, and she has always been that for me, and I feel like I've always been that for her, and yeah, there's just not there's really no one like her, and
Absolutely.
her voice is so incredible. Her voice I love her voice. Like, my sister and I used to just drool over her voice back in the day. When we first started hearing we would make her, like, sing songs. We would be at parties, and we're like, "Come on, come on."
Right.
Totally singing anything, and we'd be like, sing that song." Like, yeah. We go way back, and
Yeah,
I
because 19, that's
yeah.
when you first started playing bass, right? Around that era?
Yes, I started playing bass when I was 19, and I met her, like, maybe 6 months before I started playing bass.
Right there from the beginning. Well,
Yeah.
let's let in Sierra Swan.
Oh, fancy seeing you here, Jen.
Hello, how are you, Sierra?
Oh, baby.
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Great, great. Well, thanks for both of you being on here. And yeah. So Jenny was just saying some amazing stuff about how you two go way back, and
Oh,
her
yes.
early on helping her learn bass and just being a support system for her. So yeah, I'll let you two kind of chat a little bit, and maybe Sarah, you can tell a little bit about your experiences with first meeting Jenny. We can see how these stories line up.
Yeah. Well,
You go.
yeah, I mean, I
Yes,
met
fact
her
checking.
yeah, no, well, I met her when she was like just turned 18, right, Jen? You were 18 for sure when I met you. And it was
Yeah.
at Burning Man.
Mhm.
It was a bur- it was a Burning Man and that was the first and last time I will ever go to Burning Man. But I think I was in my tent. I was in my tent and you needed something from me. And
Yep.
I had something, but I guess it wasn't what you were looking for.
Yep.
It was a
Which is
lady
so
product.
it was a lady product, yeah.
It was a lady product. Anyway, yeah, and it was just I just saw this sweet little face poke into my tent And I think you had mentioned one of our prior friends' names said, "So and so mentioned you might have something." And I was like, "I have this," but you're like, not really my jam right now." But, um, but yeah, that's how we met, and then I think I just fell in love with her kind of instantly. I mean, she's kind of that type of person. I mean, if you don't like her, you're probably not a very nice person yourself. That's how I feel about that. Yeah, and then we just like we were hanging out pretty nonstop. I mean,
We were
we were almost
dancing. We were
we oh
dancing
yes.
every
Yes,
night.
we went out dancing all the time. A
Yeah.
Tuesday night at Kibitz Room was, like, one of the main nights we went, and we would dance all night long and end up somewhere weird at the end of the night. Who knows where we were and what we were doing.
And so
And
that's
then
Los Angeles, right? So what was Los
It is.
Angeles
yeah.
like back then compared to now?
Well, it was
Oh,
so sick.
it was amazing.
Well, you grew up in
Well,
that
and there were
yeah, you
I grew up in Los Angeles, so, I mean, I've seen all its different chapters in a way, but, late 90s, early 2000s, obviously, there's no phones, so there's already that happening, so everybody's really looking at everyone else and having conversations, and people went out, and we went out dancing, and there was more social I mean, I can't really say this because I'm not in my 20s right now in Los Angeles, but I can imagine that there was a lot more face to face contact and a lot more, I don't know, like,
and
interaction in a certain specific kind of way. You had to kind of get everything from everybody when you were with them because when you were not with them, it was like there's no calling them. I mean, you could call them, but it's not like how it is now. It's just
Absolutely.
not.
And then, of course, your father, Billy Swan,
Yeah. Whose
he
birthday is today? So
oh,
happy birthday, Billy!
I
happy
know.
birthday, Billy.
I
Yeah,
know.
and he did a great take on "Lover Please." I love that song.
Well, he wrote it.
Oh, well, he actually wrote that?
He
Okay.
wrote that song when he was 16 years old, and it was a hit for him. Like Clyde McPhatter did the song,
That was
and
the version that I yeah.
yep, Clyde McPhatter did the song, and that was his first hit, and then he had, like, his biggest hit in 1974, 75 with "I Can Help," but he wrote a ton of songs with Chris Christopherson, and sometimes randomly, like, when I'm out in the world, I'll meet people usually around, like, in their 60s and 70s and, who know who my dad is, and they'll tell me about a specific record of his that they loved, and I'm like, "Wow, that's a deep cut. I'm surprised you know that," you know? But, it's, yeah, I mean, he's released so many records, he really like, it's kind of unreal how many records he's released, and he's still recording. He's releasing another one. He's, like, 83 now, and he's 84, actually, I think, today. He's releasing a record in a couple months.
Amazing. Oh, well, you know what? And Rain, the host of Launch Left, always has me ask this. I totally spaced earlier. So, real quick, let's ask Jenny how music found you, and then we'll lead right in with Sierra on how it's quite obvious how music found her, her father, but
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
probably more to
exactly.
that story. But Jenny, how did music find you originally?
I think music found me, through dance. So I started dancing when I was 8 years old and had been dancing around the house, like my mom, my uncles, my aunt. There was a lot of movement happening, when I was younger, and then I started dance class, and I think that's yeah, I feel like I liked listening to music, but so that I could move my body to the music.
Yeah, it caused a reaction, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And, what about you, Sierra? I imagine it was just always around as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and I have to say Jen's, like, one of my favorite dancers, just by the way. It's really I mean, if you've ever get the privilege to watch her dance, it's a good day. Um, but yeah, music found me obviously, it was around all the time, but it's funny about stuff like that because sometimes when something's in your face, you're not paying attention to it. So I kind of really blocked it out for a lot. I mean, my dad had a music room in the back, and you constantly heard music coming out of it. He had bands with, like, Harry Dean Stanton, and really interesting people were always coming over. Like, Jerry Lee Lewis one time just popped on by. I mean, it was just a really interesting household, but I think because of that I wasn't paying attention to it, but it wasn't until and my sister, whose name is Planet, by the way, P-L-A-N-E Planet, that's really her name. People are like, "What?" Planet, my sister, older sister, is also a musician, so she was I was kind of more interested in what is my older sister listening to. I think that's quite common when it comes to siblings, and she was always listening to some really cool stuff. So, like Prince, we were up like when Prince came around, I was just like, well, this is what I want to do. Like, this person speaks to me. And, Prince and whatever it's The Cure, Depeche Mode, all that kind of stuff. Like once I discovered the music that I really loved, you know, I was like, okay, wait, maybe I do want to do this. I definitely learned how to play piano and guitar, but it was more for fun. But then I started taking it seriously. Like when I realized you can do weird music, you know what I mean? Because
Sure.
my dad actually did sometimes some weird stuff, but for the most part, it was pretty folky and country-esque. But, when I discovered, like, kind of the weirdos, I was like, hey, I'm a weirdo. I want to do that, you know?
Absolutely. And you've released, you're working on your fifth EP right now?
I am. I've released like 3, 4 records and ton of EPs and done a ton of background vocals for other artists. That's kind of one thing that I do a lot.
Your
And
EPs though are you're self-releasing the EPs.
yes, I
Yeah,
self-release them.
you
I do everything. It's really a lot of work, but, I enjoy it, and it's kinda like it is what it is. If that's what it takes, I'm just gonna do it, so which is actually kinda great. I don't have to answer to anybody. No one's telling me what to do, or like, "You need to change that," and I mean, I was signed a long time ago on Interscope, and I just wasn't that type of artist. Like, I just don't like people telling me what to do.
same.
Right. Right. And
Yeah, I
you
just
work
don't
with
like
Billy
it. I don't
beforehand.
it just makes me yeah, now that person, he can tell me what to do because
Billy
we
Corgan,
agree a
yeah.
lot. We have the same aesthetic. I'm actually seeing him today, and, we have a working relationship that is just works. That's why we do a lot of stuff together. He asked me to do background vocals because he knows I know what he wants, so there's not a lot of ways that we're not wasting any time. Let me put it that way. Yeah, so, yeah, he produced, Good Soldier, God, almost 14 years ago, and I've sang on, Sear. I did background vocals for that, and Autumn, which was the 3, um, disc kind of, I don't know, 3-album release. I did all the background vocals on
Wow.
that. That was a lot of work.
That was
Um,
amazing.
yeah, but
Well, yeah,
it was really fun.
that's huge. And then do you have a release date yet? Or do you wanna say the name of the EP or you no?
Yeah, the new EP is called Mistress of Love, and actually Billy wrote a song on it. It's like kinda something that we've got like my last record, he wrote a song that he just kinda gave me, and I'm like, "Well, obviously, I'm gonna do this." And then this next time around, I was like, "Hey, you got a song? I'm liking this thing." He's like, "Yeah," and he gave me this beautiful song that will be on it. It's called Pretty Pretty. Yeah, so it's a 6-song EP, and I'm releasing it in the beginning of June. I just finished a video for it, which I direct. I also like to direct and edit all my own videos and kind of I always like the idea of like, what does it look like when an artist really does everything, you know? What does it look like when you like, I'm doing the video, I'm gonna do the music. Like I want to see that. I really feel like that's really revealing as far as what type of artist you are. Like, what's your visuals and what like instead of having your team, and no offense to people who have their team, but I kind of love the idea of just like being the master of the whole thing.
Absolutely.
So, and
You both
granted,
share that in
obviously,
common.
Billy wrote a song, but that yeah, it's just like I think that's art in itself is to see something that someone really did all the things.
Yeah.
Like I find that really cool. And Jenny's like that too. She's like that too. She likes to do her own clothes, her own stuff, and it's like that's kind of also why we're kind of attracted to each other. We have the exact same we get the same thrill out of that. Like we wanna mess shit up, we wanna move it around, we wanna kinda like don't make it comfortable. We have that in common, and people can feel that when we're together.
I just said that, that's
Really
so funny.
quickly.
Well, I said it in a I
Yeah,
worded it differently, but I just said, "You're a real fucker like, fuck around and find out," and I am too. Just like, "Well,
yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah, let's
just
go.
commit and
Yeah,
see what happens, because 'cause we'll figure it out. It's gonna" I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I love that about you. I think it's amazing 'cause it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be some huge, large, expensive production. It just has to be clever.
No.
You just have to
Yeah, it
be
just has to
clever.
yeah,
And
yeah. It
I
has
can
to
see
come from, like, that place that is, like that is pretty ugly, messy, you know all the things. Like, I think that's hot. Like,
It
that's
is
sexy
hot.
to me. Yeah, I don't like the too perfect thing at
But when it
all.
comes to music videos and band merch, you can pay professionals and big companies, and it might be terrible in tech.
Like,
So
I see it all the time. I mean, a lot of my friends are in that industry, and they show me things that they have to do, and I'm just like, "I'm so sorry." And I don't mean it, like, in a bitchy way, but it is, like, it's hard to do something that you don't connect with just for the money. Like,
yeah,
that's not ideal.
complete artistic control.
Yeah.
You can't beat that. Well, thank you. And well, I guess and Jenny, we already talked about a lot, but is there anything else you'd like to add? I know Sierra has the EP coming out, Mistress of Love, and
Well,
is there anything?
the truth is that what we Jenny and I need to do something together. Actually, she's one of the people I would do something together in a heartbeat, but it's hard to get work done when we're together. I'll be honest with you, because we're, like, laughing and fucking around all the time.
We're just you know what we'll need to do is we'll just I feel like we're gonna have, like, a studio, so we're like,
Yeah,
"Well, we got the studio for 3 days, so
yeah, have to do it.
we gotta go.
Yeah.
We gotta
Money,
go."
time, yeah, do it. You only have this amount of time. But, yeah, we have to do something
It's
together.
gonna happen, and then there's also another music video. Are we not doing that? I don't know. We talked about some I
Oh,
don't
no, no,
it
I have an idea, and it's so weird because when you remember you just texted me
yeah.
out of the blue, and
There
it
we
was so weird because literally at 2 hours before I got that text from you, I was listening to something, I was like, "Oh, this is part 2 of
the dance
the
video.
Jenny and I dance video." Yeah.
I
So
was
it's
gonna say it has to involve dance, so it's funny that
yeah,
you
it
went
does. It
right there.
has to involve some kind of movement. I mean, the video that we did, um, she was just like, "Well, what are we gonna do?" I'm like, "We're just gonna put the camera on and do what
Just
we
go.
do."
Yeah.
And she's like,
Absolutely.
"For real?" I was like, "Yeah."
Well, I was fine with that. It's better than a choreographed
Yeah.
number. I have a hard
But
time
this
remembering the moves.
the next one, we're gonna choreograph a little something.
And I'll just have to prep and I'll get it. I'll get it.
It'll be easy, but we'll move, we'll use our whole body, but we'll have
Okay.
some plan. We'll have a little bit of a plan.
All
I
right.
love it.
Well,
Well, I'm all down. Okay.
Yeah.
yes,
Like, wrap it up.
absolutely. Well, let us know once that's out. We definitely have to see that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It'll be great. Don't worry.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Jenny, for being on Long
Absolutely.
Left,
Thank
and
you.
we appreciate your time. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
All
Thank
right.
you, Rich. Love
See
you, Sierra.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
I am a troublemaker and a system breaker in my mind. Could you maybe love me? Could you stand above me and forget all the bad, bad times? Stay here, 'cause I'm not okay. Oh, baby, you better stay here, 'cause I'm not okay. Oh, baby, you better. You are a person faker and a woman breaker. Do you mind? You're a crime waiting to confront us as you try to hunt us. Step back, be here, let go, 'cause you're mine. Stay here, 'cause I'm not okay. Oh, baby, you better stay here, 'cause I'm not okay. Oh, baby, you better watch your step, 'cause you're gonna regret. I'm gonna see this through. You better watch your step, 'cause you're gonna regret. I'm gonna see this through.
You take it, then you leave it, but you never receive it. Let the sun come down and chill your horns coming out of your face and into mine. You take it, then you leave it, but you never receive it. Let the sun come down and chill your horns coming out of your face and into mine.
LaunchLeft aims to create an intentional space that highlights and empowers all artists for whom radical creativity is not a choice, but a necessity. LaunchLeft begins with music, but its ultimate aim is to launch left-of-center artists in all creative fields.